One of the founders of this work, you know, that day?
So my name is Dan Oak, and I'm one of the co-founders of the new movement Stand for Thee, and I also represent the one of the largest martial arts organizations in Canada, Classical Martial Arts Canada.
Now, how would you say they're related to that then? I mean, because you organize this then, right?
Not this whole event. No, no, no.
Right.
So our organization Stand for Thee is brand new. But the people that really organized this were there's a few groups. There's Vaccine Choice Canada, 1 Million Moms, and
the line maybe.
That's a different group, but they're kind of spread
Right.
all over the country. And then of course Father Hildebrand and the Line, and those were kind of the key organizers of that.
How do you think the event went today then, compared to say
This,
Toronto, right?
This was wonderful. Actually, I thought this was probably one of the most well-organized protests that I've ever been to, and it was.
I'm Chuck Black, and this is the Age of Ingenuity, our weekly chronicle of Canada's current innovation economy. And this week, Al traveled to Aylmer, Ontario to cover their local Freedom March. It happened on November 7th. We're going to talk about that, and we've also got some footage of the event.
And I'm Alan Calder, and we've also going to take a look at Ontario, Toronto-based Trend Hunter, a company started in 2006 to track trends in pop culture, advertising, and design. We're going to take a look at what the company predicts after COVID.
But before we get started, I want you to remember to like, to comment, to share, to subscribe, and even support this vidcast on Patreon and PayPal. And with that said and done, here are the stories we're currently tracking. And our first piece tonight is focused on the Freedom March in Aylmer, Ontario on November 9th. Al was there. He covered it. We're going to have some footage he put together later on in this report. But we're going to start with the November 9th, 2020 CTV News post. Aylmer, Ontario deals with fallout, losses of weekend protest. And the CTV News post notes several confrontations, one with a water hose, a loss of local business as consumers avoided the Aylmer downtown. And in spite of a state of emergency, 2,000 people, all there to protest COVID-19 safety measures. Al, you were there. What did you see? Was there violence in the streets?
What I'll suggest is that it was a normal walking down the street kind of protest. Now, on the houses, there were some people who were just watching them go by on their lawn chairs, etc., a couple beers, what have you. Mm-hmm. And the protesters had the same kind of people that were at Dundas Square running security kind of thing. You know what I mean? Just making sure that no one got out of line and make sure no one got hurt. Mm-hmm. And so what happened then, from what I heard, was someone was spraying down the people walking by who were the protesters, I call them, mm-hmm. with the water hose, and someone went over and turned it off for them, mm-hmm. And became a little heated. And I saw the David Menzies thing story as well. Now,
we'll reference David Menzies a little later on, but tell us what happened. What did you see?
So the deal is, I know exactly where he was when that happened, because we walked past the same spot, obviously, but he walked past a little in the back of the pack more so than where I was. And I was in way back too. He was like really trailing here. Mm-hmm. So those guys were the kind of guys who were fighting with someone else that was taking pictures of them. Mm-hmm. And they were swearing at everyone and blah, 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 and they weren't making sense. They weren't even trying to really make sense, it seems like that. They were just frustrated. It's my town, blah, blah, kind of talk. But mm-hmm. There was no real fights. It wasn't really a fight then. Maybe they could have done a lot of things. No real fights.
I do see the footage you made on Saturday. I see Mennonites. I see normal people. Some are smiling. Very few are wearing masks. Hardly any of them look violent. I see a children in a cart. I see Canadian flags. I don't see anybody looking to cause trouble here.
Oh, not by far though. People just were trying to just stay out of trouble. You
Yeah.
know. It's pretty. Yeah, they were there. They were there with a man of God too. Don't forget. Right.
Reverend Henry Hildebrandt, I believe.
Exactly.
We you interviewed him last week.
I did.
How did he do out there?
Well, I ran into him again. I have an interview as well with some with and no audio on it. That's part of the interview though too. And I interviewed him again, and he said the same kind of thing. He just so proud that it's his hometown, standing up for the Constitution and standing up for this kind of thing. He really was.
To
He's
be
like,
fair, how can any protest with a tractor be all bad?
I was gonna say the number one thing I noticed then is that as I was telling people is that there are tractors bigger than most houses on the street out there.
I also want to note explicitly the November 10th, 2020 Rebel News Post, huge lockdown protest in small Ontario town. Aggressive counter-protesters disrupt the rally. That shows a different, slightly different version of David Menzies from Rebel News getting beaten up by pro-lockdown protesters. I think that's a fair assessment of the situation. I think it's well worthwhile taking a look at that video as well. Menzies generally does a good job at this sort of thing.
I know exactly where that happened and exactly who he was talking about who were doing those things.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like I managed to stay out of trouble there, you know. But
Yeah.
he was also way back at the end of the protest where they were finished. They were likely done with their beer, looking for the protest, and he went in there with his microphone. Good for him. Good on him, for real.
Also note the November 9th, 2020 blog TO post. 2,000 anti-maskers held a bizarre protest in an Ontario town this week. The blog TO piece noted that no overt acts of violence were observed, unlike what David and you saw. However, that wasn't to say there wasn't some friction to be found between anti-maskers and pro-lockdown people who showed up specifically to denounce the event.
Well,
You go.
I was gonna say, like, when I was walking, when I was there, I was you walk on the street. I was asking people questions, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy I ended up walking with, his name was Brett,
Okay.
and he's a local, right?
Yes.
And so I was asking him all these questions, and as he walked through, he said, "Well, that high school, it's a big high school too. Like it was in three layers, kind of levels rather." And I
Okay.
said, "How do you go there?" He said, "Oh no, 3,000 or so." And I said, "Doesn't your town have 7,000 people in it? Like most of our high school students? What the hell's going on here then?" But telling me this is a big regional central spot kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he was
Yeah.
pointing, he's saying hi to people. He knew them. He's talking about the locals and why he was there, saying someone just told me it was happening. And I said, "I'll go check it out." And I didn't know what it was about. And he's like, "Cool." And I talked about it, and I don't know, he's cool. I want another interview I have, no audio, is there as well.
I heard you had some technical issues. We all get that. Things happen. But what was your overall impression of the protest? Do you think it was useful?
Well, it seems to have made the news. How's that? If the
Yeah, I would agree
protest
with that. I've seen
awareness,
CBC mentioned the
yeah.
blog TO post, CTV, Global noted it. And our second segment this week isn't so much about people looking to avoid a great reset, which is what some people have called COVID and its aftermath and everything that's supposed to happen over the next little while. We are going to talk about our future after COVID. And to that end, I referenced the 2020 Future Festival Virtual World Summit. Let's see if I can pull it up. And it's going on now. We are recording this show on Tuesday evening, November 10th. It will go on for another 2 days. And it's organized by Toronto, Ontario-based Trend Hunter, which is a company which tracks trends in the marketplace for organizations hoping to take advantage of those trends. Now, the conference itself is mostly a marketing exercise designed specifically to show off the company and its owner, who's an author and a fairly well-known speaker, a guy named Jeremy Gooch. I hope that's how you pronounce it. The conference also attempts to sell a few of his books. There's one up here called createthefuture.com. There's his books, Create the Future and the Innovation Handbook. And it also, it drives a few people interested in learning more about the future into the corporate sales funnel. Trend Hunter does a lot of consulting work for a lot of big companies, IBM, NASA, most of the Fortune 50, the Fortune 500. And to that end, Trend Hunter is a strong advocate of something they used to call cool hunting, which is a term coined in the early 1990s to refer to marketing professionals who make observations and predictions of cultural fads and trends. And that's primarily what they do. They talk about trends and how companies can take advantage of them. And I came across this company specifically because I signed up on their news service about 5 years ago. I talk to their owners every once in a while, and I got a free ticket to the first 2 days of the event. I got a ticket to the second day after today, and I brought home some sales literature on the topic. And my favorite piece of sales literature, let me see if I can pull it up, is something called the, let me see if I can find it, share screen. The 2021 Trend Report, which is an overview of the top insights collected by Trend Hunter over the previous year. It also contains suggestions on how corporations should go about taking advantage of those insights. And here's a big hint. Al, you should know this off the top of your head. You used to work for a conference company. In order to take advantage of all these insights, you need to pay Trend Hunter money. This all has to do with funneling sales into the Trend Hunter marketing cycle. They've got, I think they got 40 people in a call center in downtown Toronto that call up anybody who requests information. They try to get them out to the conference. That's a circle of their sales funnel. And over time, if you're a big company, they want to do some serious consulting with you and come up with new and improved marketing campaigns. But I also think it's notable that the company this year focused an awful lot on COVID and what they perceive of as being trendy after COVID. And I'll give you an example of it. This is one of the things I like. An example of a real trend is at least what I perceive of, and that's on page 5 of this document. And I think you'll like this one, Al. This is something they call upcycled root. And this is brands that are tapping the potential of marijuana, cannabis, hemp, whatever you call it, for skincare products. So you don't just smoke this stuff, Al. You you rub it on your face.
This stuff, to me though, Chuck, here's my commentary on this product as well as the rest of this whole document that I went through.
Yeah.
There's really nothing new in here at all. It was so disappointing here. Like I could go to Walmart and buy something like that. You know, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like what are the? Where's the innovation in this? Go to page 11, Chuck, for a second.
Go to page 11. Let me go to page 11. This is one of the trends that I don't particularly like. This is a COVID-related trend. Appointment-only retail shopping, ensuring safe in-person shopping experiences. But, I mean, you go.
Well, anyway, Chuck, the reason I imagine you have the same, possibly the same concerns with that then, but that's not a shopping experience. We could order online. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, this is not innovation at all. Like, what is this doing here? Why is this on the list of the things? Like, what is this a trend? How do you sell that?
I don't know.
Ask my daughter's office. They've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I work at a church, and one of my coworkers also works with me at the church, and she used to work at Trend Hunter, and she said that most of the real marketing done at Trend Hunter is combing through social media and tracking the number of instances that something like this is mentioned in social media. And if you look at the little line down the bottom,
Mhm.
you note that the popularity, the activity level that's it tracks on social media, the freshness relates to uh, how long ago that this trend was noted before fizzling out. So it's mostly tracking social media. Social media, by definition, uh, tracks what's already happening and doesn't make really all that many predictions about the future.
Well,
So,
the
so I
past is
agree
a
with you
good.
that way, huh?
The past is the only data you have to predict the future, though. To be fair.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. I also I absolutely agree that a lot of this stuff is pedestrian, but I do want to talk about it because it talks about our COVID future and
Yeah.
a trend like this being pushed out to large Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies suggests to them, no more retail, no more going outside. Also
Mhm.
suggests that the cost for services is going to go way up. There are fancy stores in downtown Toronto where we live that already do things like that. You have personal appointments and you have a personal shopper who pulls out 15 or 20 items of clothing and fawns over you for a period of time. And that's expensive stuff. That's
There's like a
that's a
glass of
yeah,
wine kind of thing, right?
that's a place where at the end of the hour of pretend friendship, you're expected to buy a $2,000 outfit.
And they're probably right.
Yeah, and uh, this specific trend is mentioned at least once more in the document. The document's huge; it's like over 200 pages.
Well,
It
that was
contains
huge.
a lot of stuff. But virtual marketplaces. I mean, I don't know the difference between virtual stores and virtual marketplaces. Maybe that's websites with multiple virtual stores. That seems to be what I think it is.
Well, I guess it's the difference between virtual manure and virtual horseshit, I guess. Like,
Yeah, but this thing says explicitly stores can't stay open in the current market unless they go upscale. So, in-person shopping is going to be reserved for the rich when
oh,
the Great
thank
Reset
God.
takes hold, huh?
Oh, that. Oh, thank God. Finally,
Yeah.
the rich benefit. Finally, they've had it so hard.
Yep. Now that at-home shopping is people's only completely safe option, e-commerce is booming, and obviously Trend Hunter is pushing their consultancy services
Mm.
to set up these virtual shopping models.
Oh, it's their business model, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Here is something that really disturbs me. I don't know why. This
Mm.
is page 29 in the report, and it talks about model-free runways. Because of COVID, models can't be seen together because they can catch COVID. And having a limit on the use of models on runways had made fashion brands more creative in how they present their new collections. They put it on coat hangers, on wax dummies, and they do it all virtually online. I haven't seen any wax dummies make the cover of Vogue magazine yet, but that seemed to be another one of those things that Trend Hunter is absolutely pushing. And even I think this is a really stupid trend. Now, what do you think?
I think it's there was this a rock star, not rock star, but musician in Japan though, and
Mm-hmm.
she was 100% digital. Their songs were made up by computer. Her performances were live in front of thousands of people, but it was all digital. And she was not real. And her
How
band is.
about you have a point? I accept that it is being done. I personally find it distasteful, but I
It is.
accept that it is being done successfully.
Well, it's being done. It doesn't mean it's successful either. Right?
I believe real people prefer models. I can see a world turning away from fashion shows and
Mhm.
products like this to online YouTube influencers who work out of their home. They try on clothing samples on their YouTube videos, recommend their favorite items. You can click below the video on the item, and you can buy it yourself, and then the store will drop ship it to the customer, and the model on YouTube can get a cut of the commission. That I see that as being a more real model than all this virtual stuff. But
I wonder
again,
how much do you think I could make, Chuck?
I don't know. I think it depends on what you model, Al.
What I don't model, right?
Here's another thing that I find particularly distasteful. It relates to our post-COVID future, or maybe COVID will be there forever, because this particular trend has to do with face coverings integrated into outerwear and clothing items for ease of use. You go.
To be fair, Chuck, this is not innovation here. The people in Iran have been doing this for thousands of years.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just
you know who makes the jobs? Every designer, every fashion designer makes them. They have the brand name Calvin Klein on the masks and stuff like, not masks but hijab. You know, they've been covering their faces for so long. This is not innovation. This is just bad. It's a shitty plan, but still, it's been done.
I agree, but this is like $1 billion a year company, and they have what is generally conceived of as being one of the better conferences, and they have just a huge client list. Can you imagine stupid accountants, stupid marketing people who never go out into the real world looking at this stuff like you and I are looking at? I can easily see them going, oh my God, this is the secret to the universe. I will pay you up to any amount of money to consult with me more.
Finally, someone has an idea.
Yeah. And just the idea that consumers will want this because they tend to be forgetful, or they want ease of access. Just the idea that you have this mask integrated in with your overcoat. How many times have you cleaned your overcoat in the last 2 years?
More than the irony is that you can't get sicker from wearing a dirty coat.
Yeah. So I very cautious about these things. Maybe they zip out like hoods.
This is my concern about this is they're proving it's going to be here forever. Then, like, you know what? As well, by the way, this is as an aside again. You know, the governor of Victoria, Andrews, in Melbourne, as it's pronounced, he suggested that COVID will always be. You know, we can't get away from this. This will be always with us. He said.
I'm suggesting that the marketing campaigns from this specific company are operating specifically under that assumption. They don't think COVID's ever going to go away.
They must know something I don't.
I don't know. They don't understand, or maybe they don't believe that, like every other virus ever in existence, COVID has a one-season pandemic phase, and then it becomes endemic, where it doesn't really harm anybody. It's like a flu bug, and it goes on forever. They think COVID's going to stay forever. Also of note, you wear your mask for too much, you got to go to page 77 of this document, where another trendy thing is beauty brands launching products to combat the acne caused by facial coverings.
Oh, perfect. Finally, someone's dared to save the day with this solution of theirs.
I'm thinking to myself that one of the reasons that cigarettes were popular even after the Surgeon General said that it's harmful for you is the perception among women that smoking cigarettes keep you skinny.
Oh, not quitting smoking makes you fat would be a better way to think of it, I believe.
Well, yeah, but the idea that beauty trumps health. And all we have to do is tell the population of the world that they're going to get pimples if they wear masks. Then these we wouldn't need any more protests like Aylmer, Ontario.
I hope no one will ever know, though. You know, popular.
Well, you go.
They have the bacterial COVID infections they were talking about, though.
Yeah.
Do the mask. Have you seen the people with like their red face though, where the mask is though? I guess I'm like, why does no one show this crap here? Like, seriously. Anyway.
Well, maybe they all have the beauty brands designed to combat acne, and caused by facial coverings. That's what
How
I
could I,
think.
how could I afford not to get acne caused by this mask?
I our next page, I'm going to go through
Yep.
two or three more of these just to give you an idea of how stupid this is and what they're all hoping we become in the future. I'm going to go to page 40. Is that page 43? Yeah, page 43. One of the other side effects of the ongoing pandemic is the absence of physical touch, which is causing people to develop what Trend Hunter calls skin hunger, prompted by a lack of physical touch for long periods of time. Trendy designers are showcasing various concepts and products that allow you to remain untouched by physical hands and simulate hugging or other actions that sort of bring comfort. And if you look in here, there are hugging machines. Wouldn't you just love to have a hugging machine rather than a girlfriend or a wife?
Not always, but
uh,
not sometimes. But the thing is, like, who's designing this garbage? Ed? Like a scientician or markinologist or something?
I
Like
don't
this
know.
is
I think
so
it's the sort of
garbage.
thing you and I would think up in a bar after our third round.
Yeah, but here it is.
Yeah. Don't you think that deep touch mimicking weighted blankets are important,
Oh,
especially when nobody will touch you or even come within 6 feet?
are you less than a 1 out of 10?
Yeah.
Personality looks. I've got the blanket for you.
Yeah,
But
I think it's
it
so
reminds me of like
dumb.
it reminds me of like one of the movies that Sylvester Stallone was in. I don't recall which one. Maybe Demolition Man, but I don't know. But
Yeah,
it was when he comes back to the future or from the future,
yeah.
or unfrozen, and the future is different then. And they have these machines that you go and have a conversation with if you're feeling lonely. I remember thinking at the time, like, man, what a bunch of fucking idiots! Like, what a morons would do that. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
huh. Apparently, around, I guess I look around with people with masks on, and I can take a real tally of those who are lonely people. Then people who would do that and need that. I
I,
think they're
I
wearing masks.
I'm thinking that the movie was Demolition Man. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed the movie. I thought it was quite smart, and they talked about these things happening
Mhm.
around the 2020s to 2030s, so they were quite prescient.
Oh my God! Again, the movies are always so accurately, nervingly accurate. I meant to say, for real. But
I would say that's true. I'm going to go to two more pages because I think they're the funniest pages in this entire document. Trend Hunter notes for people who don't like the way our current civilization is going. There is a marketing need. Whoops, that's skincare. I'm sorry about that. Not skincare, or maybe skincare. I believe for people who are looking to protest against the activities related to lockdowns and government stupidity, there is a market niche for tools that help protect their identities while protesting. So if you really hate how things are going, you could buy a blurring anti-facial recognition mask or an identity protecting camera app or a wearable face projectors that project a false face upon your body. Or you could wear a mask.
yeah, well, why spray paint your face?
Yeah,
Like
I think that's you go, you
you can
go.
already wear a mask if you want to. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure how effective those are with the facial recognition and fearful Orwellian kind of software, but with a mask on or not. But if they were unable to identify people with a mask on, they wouldn't let us wear them, let alone make us wear them.
I have heard some good stories about little bags that you're supposed to put your laptop and your cell phone into if you don't want your technology to spy upon you. And I don't know if they're lead lined or if they're lined with something that disallows signals from transmitting to and from your phone or your laptop. But the idea is that it prevents an outside source from making a connection with your electronics. So I think the identity protecting camera apps and stuff like that are probably useful, but the anti-facial recognition mask and all the other stuff in here. I do find it amusing that this page specifically notes that in the modern age, protesting is increasingly dangerous to individuals as advanced surveillance technology makes it easier to track those who are vocal about societal injustices.
Please refer to the last 100 pages.
And I also like the idea that Trend Hunter is selling products for both sides of the political divide, because we go back a few pages to page 103. We note that Trend Hunter also denotes a market for new technologies for in-store and outdoor monitoring of the activities of others. So it's making money both sides of this political divide.
I don't know if I agree with your political divide comment though, for real.
How so?
Nothing to do with politics on. It's
How
nothing
so?
to do with politics.
Nothing to do with well, I agree. It has to do with making money.
Then? Where's the divide then in politics then?
Yeah.
I just trying to find out what are the two sides though, for real. Where's the
Well, if
divide?
you protest, okay, if you protest, you're protesting against a group that's not protesting. So there's a divide between the two groups.
You're protesting something. You're protesting something else. I agree.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
constitutionally protesting kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the group in Aylmer, there was a small group that were pro-lockdown, and they beat up David Menzies, and they tried to make their word known, and they were acting in contradiction of the larger group that was anti-lockdown and pro-freedom. So there's always a contrast, and I find it really interesting to note that Trend Hunter is developing projects and products for both sides. So
but here's what I get. So let's pretend though. So at Dundas Square, then 2 weeks in a row, I interviewed groups that were like the Nigerians, you know, and they were not the same divide as what I'm getting at though. They weren't. I guess that's more of a complicated thing I'm trying to say. Doesn't matter.
It is a complicated thing, and they were actively protesting against people who were absolutely against them, but in a different country.
Yes. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a different creature. The protesting is one size does not fit all. Calling protesters.
No, I agree with that. But this Trend Hunter series of pages kind of reminds me like old Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy cartoons. You remember that? I remember it. I don't know if anybody under 30 remembers it, but
well, I claim I'm under 30, so that count for something.
Yeah, I will put up a link in the show notes. You can see the graphics. It was a classic political cartoons from the 50s to about the 80s or 90s. Spy versus Spy. I really liked it.
And those are the stories we're covering this week. As always, the articles we've referenced are listed in the show notes.
If you'd like to promote your event or your activity, or if you think you have insight into Canada's current innovation economy, then send us an email. My email is chuck.black@protonmail.com.
And we're currently on YouTube and BitChute, and still expect to be on Brighteon later this week. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the comment on our posts. Even better, if you like the ever-improving content we create, send some money to our Patreon and PayPal accounts. We really appreciate your patronage.
And that's all for this week. I promise we'll be on Brighteon next week. And we'll also be back next week with more stories covering our current age of ingenuity.